Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the unfortunately a little bit late Movie Mondays. You're probably seeing this on Tuesday. I do apologize for that. Just battling the last vestiges of this cold here and spent most of the day in bed. So, yeah, should be back on track by next week. Well, this week's review, I actually just watched this movie last night. I'd heard a lot of interesting things about it. I saw the trailer for it back when it was first coming out, and I thought it looked pretty interesting, and I wanted to check it out. But then I started hearing from people who had seen it, and they were saying how it was really a surprise, like a very pleasant surprise, but that it was this very powerful, emotionally affecting film that had this profound impact on them. And I was like, wow, really? That's not quite what I would have expected from the trailer. I mean, it looked like kind of a touching little romantic story with a strange kind of twist to it. But I was really surprised to hear about all of these effects that it seemed to be having on people, so I became even more curious about it. I'm, of course, talking about the latest film, the fourth feature film from the always interesting and unique Spike Jonze, Her, starring Joaquin Phoenix and the voice of Scarlett Johansson as Samantha. But yeah, so I finally picked this up the other day. I haven't even done an update video. Well, you'll see this briefly mentioned in my next update video. But yeah, finally picked it up, watched it last night, and thought I'd give you my thoughts. What did I think of Her? Well, let's find out today on Movie Mondays on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Well, where do I even begin with this one? It's interesting to me. Spike Jonze really seems to be one of those polarizing directors. I mean, people seem to either really just passionately love his films or vehemently hate them, and there doesn't seem to be any gray area there. It's like I don't hear anybody saying, "Oh, I kind of liked it, but not really," or "It was sort of meh." But I mean, it seems like people just love him or hate him. Myself, honestly, I've seen he's done. Sorry, he's done 4 feature films, and I thought he had done more than that. But I looked up his filmography on IMDb, and he's mostly done short films and music videos. And I've actually seen a lot more of his stuff than I even realized. And of course, he does stuff with Jackass as well, which is kind of funny that he's so associated with Jackass, yet he's this very, emotionally powerful director with a real eye for just stunning cinematography. I mean, his films tend to be very serious and emotionally involved, maybe with a bit of a twisted, like if you look at, say, Being John Malkovich, for example, obviously very twisted humor in that, and also very dark humor. It's a much darker movie than I expected. And then Adaptation as well, which also has some very dark humor in it, but again is, just a really different kind of movie, and fun to see Nicolas Cage in a dual role in that. And then, of course, Where the Wild Things Are, where... which I did a pretty in-depth review of. I'll actually include a link to that in the description down below if you're curious. I described that as a deeply personal review because Where the Wild Things Are hit a lot of very personal notes for me, in particular with my childhood experiences and things like that. And it just really resonated with me in that respect. And funny, I mentioned how he's a very polarizing director. A lot of people really hated that movie, and I don't understand why. I don't know if they were just expecting the book on screen. Well, the book is like 20 pages long, I mean, that's not going to be enough to sustain a feature-length movie. There has to be more substance to it than that. And I think what he did with it was brilliant, and he turned it into, a wonderful story about how difficult it can be growing up in a broken home. Now with Her, I found that Her resonated with me in terms of a lot of my adult experiences, especially in recent years. It seems kind of timely for me personally, some of the subject matter in here. And, and there's a lot of social commentary in here as well, just kind of about the aspects of our society, the society that we live in which we become so dependent on our technology, and social networking and things like that, social media, and how we live in essentially this, well, much like I always like to mention Marshall McLuhan and his concept of the global village, and how the emerging technologies and whatnot and communications tools becoming available to us are reducing the barriers of distance between who we can communicate with on a daily basis. And hello internet. Many of you are watching me from all over the world right now, and that's, we are in that global village now. I mean, it is here, it is now, it is the world we live in. I talk to people from all over the world all the time, and in that respect, it's wonderful because, I've been able to meet people from all different parts of the world, and, meet them, as in chat with them online and interact with them, and experience in some way all these different cultures and such, and I love it. I mean, it's celebrating the diversity of the world, and we talk about that. There's a lot of people who come to my live show who are from all different parts of the world, and we'll often sort of talk about little differences between our cultures. What kind of junk food we have in one place of the world or the other, things like that, and that's a really fun aspect of this global village and the social networking and such. However, the flip side of that is there's still a physical distance. We have the social interaction and the intellectual stimulation of being able to interact with people from all over the world, but there's a distance. You can't, if it's someone, of the opposite sex or same sex, if that's your thing, who you're really attracted to. You've seen pictures of them, you've done video chats, you've had hours and hours of conversations, and you really like this person, but they're clear on the other side of the world. That can be, it's like you've made that connection, but in a way you're more isolated, because it's great, I found my soulmate, and she's in Zimbabwe, like there's just, so it ends up making you feel more lonely, because you've got this wonderful connection with somebody, and not just with, romantic connections, just, generally social connections. I'll be honest with you, at this stage in my life, most of my best friends are online. I'm here in it's not a small town, but it's kind of spread out, and there's not a lot of opportunity for me to get out and meet people with, with work and looking after the little one and stuff like that, and having to deal with daycare, just all the stuff going on in my life. It's very difficult to meet people. So essentially, I'm limited to meeting people at work, and there's just not. I have yet to meet anyone there who I would really be inclined to start a romantic relationship with, and a lot of people don't feel comfortable dating coworkers anyway. So, it's kind of a catch-22 in that respect. Sometimes it's like, oh, that person would be great to date, but she doesn't like dating coworkers, or this person's really physically attractive, but we don't have anything in common, and it just kind of goes around and around like that. But so for me, having the internet and the social networking world has been wonderful, because I've at least, even if I haven't been able to connect with anybody in the physical here and now sense, I'm at least able to connect with people who are of a like mind and share common interests and things like that, and we can still interact and have fun and do things together. Like, for example, we do the group viewings, we watch movies together, you can do online gaming and play games together, whatever. So there is that social aspect of it. But as I say, even though you have that social aspect of it, there is something to be said for having somebody in the same space and time with you, that you can, if it's a buddy, go out and have a beer, or sit and, just hang at one place or the other and watch movies and play video games while, oh my God, in the same room as somebody. And that's something I really miss. I just haven't really found very many people here that I can connect with. So, What about the movie, you're wondering? Well, there is a point to all of this, personal soul bearing here. All of these aspects that I've described are things that are very much touched on in this film, and touched on in ways that I could definitely relate to. I mean, here the main character, Theodore Twombly, I think his name is. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, Theodore. He's a very lonely guy. He's just come out of a long-term relationship. He's in the process of getting divorced, and he's feeling very lonely and isolated. And he has a job, ironically, which is for writing heartfelt letters for couples and whatnot, or just whoever who maybe is too busy or isn't particularly eloquent in the written word. So they'll contact this company and give them a little bit of information about themselves and the person they want to write the letter to, and just some things about them. And then what his job is to take that information and write something that sounds like it's from them, but is very heartfelt and full of goodwill and such. And he's very good at it, and that's kind of his thing. So he can write these beautiful letters for people, and just help them out in that respect. And so he spends all his time writing these beautiful letters, yet at the same time, expressing love and good feelings and just these wonderful, eloquently written letters, and words and feelings. Yet he himself is very lonely and unhappy. So he hears about this new form of AI, just called an OS, basically an operating system, and decides to give it a try. He has one for his computer, but it's very straightforward, just kind of like, here's your email and blah blah blah. There's nothing really exciting or interesting about it. It's just a tool. So he gets this new form of OS, which is supposed to be more interactive and more kind of adaptive to your daily routine and your needs and whatnot. So he decides to try it out. So he installs it, and it asks him some basic questions about what kind of person he is, and based on his answers, it tailors the personality of the OS to be able to relate to him. So he's asked if he wants a male or female one. He decides to go with a female voice for it, or like a female voice / personality. And and basically he meets Samantha. So the OS gives itself a name and names herself Samantha. And the cool thing about this OS is it's very much a fully functioning AI. It's capable of abstract thought. It has a sense of humor, and it behaves much like a person, and it adapts and evolves and grows as Theodore interacts with it. So it's, for all intents and purposes, very much like a real person. The only difference is this is a real person who lives in a computer. So it's kind of like the whole social media thing, except this is not a person. This is an artificial intelligence that a very advanced one, obviously, that behaves exactly like a person. So it essentially is a person, but with all of the capabilities of a computer connected to the internet, and with the same kind of physical distance as someone who lives on the other side of the world, because it's just a mind, it's not a body. But needless to say, as he interacts with Samantha, and she interacts with him and helps him with his daily tasks and stuff, they begin to form a bond, and they become they at first become very good friends, and then they actually begin to fall in love with each other, which may sound really strange, but it's actually, when you think about it and just sort of think about how technology is evolving, it's really not that far-fetched that something like this could happen in the not so distant future. I mean, it's set in the future, like in sort of an undetermined near future, just sort of generic near future. It's kind of like the present, but slightly more advanced. And in the world of this thing, the whole concept of people developing relationships with these artificial intelligence OSs is not that unusual and not that uncommon. I mean, there's a lot of people. In fact, a friend of his even has a relationship with an OS. She also just broke up with somebody. Her boyfriend dumped her, and he left behind his OS that was the same type that Theodore has, and she and this OS just became really good friends, and they would joke and laugh and play around and do stuff together, and talk with each other and confide in each other and everything, and just became really really connected and had a really good friendship. So she didn't find it unusual at all that Theodore fell in love with his OS and was having an actual relationship with her and would refer to her as his girlfriend, and even his friends who would ask him, are you seeing anybody? You say, yeah. And he says, well, come on, we should go on a double date sometime. And he says, well, she's an OS. Like, I don't know if I can actually, and he just sort of leaves that hanging there. He's like, she's an OS. Like, she's not a real person. And his friend's just like, cool, whatever, bring her along. Because he has like sort of a portable phone thing that he can bring along, and he and then Samantha can see through the camera and like see more or less what he's seeing, so they go off on like little day trips and adventures together and stuff in that respect. And then you can hear what she's saying through an earpiece, but so she can talk to him through the earpiece, and then she can see what he's seeing or what he's showing her through the camera, which he just keeps in his front pocket. So yeah. But anyway, I mean, I thought it was, honestly, like, I was really actually quite blown away by what a touching movie, like, what a touching story it is. I mean, in large part due to the just fantastic performance of Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson as the voice of Samantha. I mean, they really, really work well together. But I was saying how I don't think it's that far-fetched. I mean, you looked at our world today and just how connected we are to our technology. And I mean, I don't personally have a smartphone. Anybody who follows me on Facebook knows I'm not a big fan of smartphones. I think that smartphones are very ironically named because I kind of feel like they've made our society dumber. But that's a whole other thing for another time. Yeah, just give me a phone that I can make calls on. That's all I need. That's it. It's done. I don't need to be able to interact with the world via my phone when I'm out enjoying the world. That's, call me crazy, but that's kind of my take on it. Yeah, so I mean, you look at just the world at large, me being the exception here, obviously. Vast majority of people have smartphones and tablets and such, and they're constantly connected to this wired world, to this global village that we're all a part of. Checking up on their social media, checking their email, sending text messages, sending pictures back and forth, sending music files back and forth. Just this constant interaction with the whole social world out there. So why is it so unusual that, like, why would it be so inconceivable that the next level of that would be to have artificial intelligence enter into the mix and become a part of our daily lives? I mean, you look at 10 years ago, if people would have said, oh, people are going to be staring at their phones all day, you would have thought they were nuts. It's like, why the fuck would they be looking at their phones all day? Like, what's to see on a phone? It's like, well, enter the world of smartphones. Something that was completely, it might as well be magic, 10, 15 years ago. But now it's so firmly ingrained into our society that we don't think twice about it. So I don't see any reason why some form of artificial intelligence becoming a part of our daily lives in the same kind of way is inconceivable. And could something like what we see in her actually happen? Absolutely. I think it could. And in fact, in some ways, we're already there. This is kind of a stretch, but go with me here for a second. Look at the number of people out there. Just look up relationships with love dolls. Yeah, this is kind of weird, but think of it this way. These are people who, for whatever reason, don't feel comfortable having relationships with other people, like romantic relationships with other people. So they've invested in these ultra realistic love dolls, and they consider them their companions, their lovers, And it may be weird to those of us on the outside, but for these people, this is what works for them. This brings them joy. It brings them some kind of feeling of having a relationship, even if it's just with a doll. But without that, obviously without that sort of intellectual stimulation. But now imagine like a love doll with actual artificial intelligence, and then tailored to that individual's needs. I mean, that's something that could be very therapeutic for people who simply are unable to have normal relationships with other people. And there's a lot of people out there like that who would benefit from something like that. And then in other respects, it doesn't have to be romantic relationships either. I mean, just having an AI, something like the OS is in her, just as like a companion or like as a friend, or what have you, just to help you with your day-to-day tasks. Like, for example, in terms of just the functions of Samantha and how she's able to help Theodore just in a general sense. For example, at the very beginning, when they first start to get to know each other, he's being set up on a blind date. So she she checks around, she looks up all this information about her blind date, finds out what she's into, and picks like the perfect restaurant for them to go to, and it makes it an awesome date. So that's one way that an AI can help. I mean, some people aren't that Google savvy. You have an AI doing the work for you, that's very useful, that's very handy. And sometimes there may be things, going on in your life or whatever that you don't feel comfortable talking to another person about. So it would be nice to have something like an AI to just have as a confidant, that you could talk to, and then they could go and scan all these psychological papers for you and bring back some useful advice. I mean, there's a lot of different ways in which something like that could be useful. So yeah, I think that will happen in some form in the future, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what it goes. So I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there developing artificial intelligence and have been for decades. It's only a matter of time before it kicks in. I mean, there's some out there now that they've been doing experiments with that are able to create and imagine, and are very, very close. Once they sort of break that abstract thought barrier, being able to think outside the box, that's the thing that sets humans apart from computers. When you can have a computer that can think outside the box and be creative and crazy like humans are, then that's it. We're there, Then the line has been blurred. And artificial intelligence, where you get into Isaac Asimov iRobot territory, where do you draw the line between what's human and not human? And that's very much what this kind of explores, but in this case, in the form of a very advanced piece of software that excuse me, that interacts with you, on a not just on a functional level, but on an emotional level as well. And I found that really interesting. So, yeah, I mean, bottom line, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I mean, I think that Spike Jonze is one of the most unique and interesting directors of our time. I just wish he'd make more movies. But I mean, if they're going to be few and far between, and they're going to be this good, then I don't mind waiting. I can be patient. But yeah, I'm not sure what else I can touch on. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to kind of touch base on. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, would I ever consider having a romantic relationship with an AI, should the possibility present itself? I don't know. Honestly, probably not. It's not sort of my thing, but I can see how it could be for someone else. Would I consider having an AI as a friend? As a as a confidant? Absolutely. I think it would be cool, actually. I think it would be cool to have an AI friend, and they might be able to help give you perspective on things that you might not otherwise have. I mean, it'd be much like any other friend gives you a perspective that you might not otherwise have, but this would be a perspective directly linked into that whole world of information that, could give you an even different perspective. I don't know. You know what I mean. But yeah, I think it would be cool, and I look forward to seeing what the future holds for that. Um, yeah, so I definitely recommend her. As many people said to me, make sure you have a box of Kleenex on hand because it is quite emotionally intense. I mean, it's as much about Theodore dealing with his loneliness and the loss of the end of his relationship with his wife and trying to start fresh in some way, as it is about Samantha and the whole idea of artificial intelligence growing and growing. Where does it go from there? Like, where does it stop at just being satisfied being human, or does it begin to want more? And well, those are some ideas that are explored in the film that are very, very interesting. So it's also, I mean, it's very funny, it's very touching. The cinematography in it is absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's a movie that you don't want to have on while you're doing something else. You want to give it your rapt attention, because there's a lot of things, for example, where Theodore will be remembering things from the past. Like he'll be in, like for example, he's in the middle of signing the divorce papers, divorcing his wife. And as you hear the sound of them signing the papers, you just occasionally cuts to Theodore's face, just kind of looking wistfully. And then it cuts to his memories, where you see his memories and remembering all the happy times that they had together back when they first fell in love, when they first got married, and all that stuff. And then back to the divorce. But the whole time you only see it visually. Like if you're just listening to it while you're off, picking your nose in the kitchen. Why would you be picking your nose in the kitchen? That's where you make food. Don't pick your nose in the kitchen. You would miss all that because you'd just be hearing the sound of the pen scribbling on the paper and just assume that's all it was because you're not looking at the screen. So for God's sake, look at the screen while you're doing this. Put your phone away and look at the movie screen that you're watching it on. Well, I guess unless you're watching it on your phone. Don't watch a movie on your fucking phone. Seriously. I'm totally with David Lynch on that. Do not watch movies on your fucking phone. Just don't do it. Okay? Watch her. It's really good. Alrighty. That is it from me to you for now. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara. Oh, hey, just before we go, I'd like to take a moment to give a hearty thank you to all of my Patreon sponsors. Definitely appreciate the support. Special big thanks to Kyle Pellegrini, who is currently my highest level sponsor. So thank you very much for the support, dude. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone else who's come out to help support the channel with a Patreon sponsorship. I really appreciate that a lot. If you'd like to join the party, please do. Every little bit helps. No amount is too big, no amount is too small. It all goes right back into the show here, allowing me to pick up more stuff to review and upgrades for the computer, upgrades for the camera, things like that. And yeah, definitely appreciate the support. Alrighty, thanks for watching, and sayonara.